Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At AnfieldIndex, we've teamed up with LiverpoolFC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride and style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year?
Panarin!
Part of the past. The celebrations? Forgotten. The history?
Vegas Golden Knights!
History. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup Playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America NA, member FDIC.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Monday on which it's all over. The season is over and Jurgen Klopp's tenure as Liverpool manager is over. We witnessed a 2-0 win yesterday against Wolves, a game that really and truly had no consequence, that really and truly stopped being a contest when Nelson Semedo was sent off. A game in which it felt at times like people were just going through the motions. But then also a game in which the crowd was incredible. The noise level was amazing. The Jurgen song rang out around Anfield for 10 minutes towards the end. A game in which when that started, the players really started to push and try and find a third goal, a cop goal, one final goal to say goodbye to Jurgen. We'd gone 1-0 up through Alexis McAllister, a good header after a nice Harvey Elliott cross, and we'd gone 2 up when Jarrell Quansah poked home after Mo Salah scuffed a shot that was probably going to get cleared, but Quansah put it into the roof of the net. And other than that, nothing really happened for a long period of time. Wolves carried little to no threat. Alisson was forced into a good save from a Pedro Neto free kick. There was also a Wolves goal disallowed correctly for an offside, but it did just feel like two teams that were there for something else, something bigger. Wolves seemed to understand what they were there for, and it was notable that a portion of the Wolves fans did stay around after the game to watch what took place as first Thiago and then Joel Matip were presented with plaques, mini versions of the trophy wall. And then the staff came out. And one by one, they were all introduced. They were all given their mementos. They were all applauded. And then Jurgen came out. And you could tell from the minute the final whistle went, you could tell that the emotion was just off the charts. Not so much with Jurgen himself. He seemed to hold it together quite well, but with some of the players. Virgil was devastated, and that came across very clearly in his post-match interview. Trent, in his interview, broke down, talked about how Klopp had changed his life. And you could see it with most of the players that it was really hard for them to get through yesterday. Darwin Núñez looked absolutely devastated. And he's getting a lot of flack today because someone's taken a video of Jurgen walking through the Guard of Honour and Darwin isn't clapping. And then there's a video of the dressing room where Jurgen speaks to the players and Darwin has his head down and doesn't applaud. So people have decided that that's a show of disrespect, that it means that Darwin doesn't care about the manager or is having a strop about the manager, that there's been a falling out. But then you see the video of the two of them in a group at the after party last night, dancing together. And then you look back at the videos, particularly the one in the dressing room, and he has his head down and his head in his hands. And he just looks absolutely devastated. And you look back to the video of the Guard of Honour, and yes, he applauds everyone else that walks out. And when Jurgen does, he looks distant. But it may well be that his way of dealing with that type of emotion, where clearly he is devastated, is to just shut down and retreat into himself. People are getting their likes and retweets on social media because that's what they do by chastising him and, saying that he's let Klopp down and all this kind of stuff. But the fact of it is, Jurgen has been his biggest advocate from day one. Jurgen didn't just bring him to the club. Jurgen was solely responsible for his signing. Jurgen forced the club to sign Darwin Núñez. And over the past 2 years, Jurgen has been his biggest advocate. Now, people can look at it and say, oh, well, he dropped him recently and this and that. Did he drop him or did he take him out of the firing line? Because Darwin wasn't playing well. And maybe Jurgen thought the best thing for him is to not start, to come off the bench, to play in spurts. When Darwin was coming on, there was an embrace between the two that seemed really real. It wasn't like a tepid thing. So I think people want to blow that just way out of proportion. I think Darwin is just devastated by the fact that Jurgen's leaving. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. And he doesn't have the capability to verbalize himself in the way Virgil, who speaks perfect English, or Trent, who is English, had in interviews. So he just shuts down and retreats into himself. I thought there was some really good tributes paid by the players, by the club, to Jurgen, to the staff. I thought the two items that Jurgen was presented with were incredible. I thought Jurgen's speech was great. He made it clear that, while he may be leaving, what makes the club special remains. He made it clear how important the fan base is to the future of the club. And then he decided to lead everybody in an Arne Slot chant, which was incredible. And funnily enough, there's a video of Arne Slot singing You'll Never Walk Alone at his farewell party at Feyenoord. And Feyenoord yesterday won 4-0 to finish second in the Eredivisie, broke their record points total for the season, for a season. So, all in all, I think we're in pretty good hands moving forward. I think Jurgen's been clear of what our role needs to be in terms of giving the manager time and unwavering support. We know there's a great squad of players there. There's not a whole lot of work that needs to be done. There's 4 or 5 signings that are needed, 3 starters, maybe 2 squad players. But that's not a huge amount. It's not a complete rebuild at all. It's what would have been needed if Jurgen himself was staying. Alisson was asked about him, said he doesn't know much about him, but, him and the other players want to win trophies. Virgil said he's been asking about Arne Slot to people that know both of them. He got a little dig in as well that when he and Arne Slot played against each other, his team won and he kept a clean sheet. He said he's looking forward to next season. I assume we'll hear quite soon that Virgil has signed a new contract. I don't know about Trent. He was very emotional yesterday. And then obviously Mo was the other one. And we'll wait and see. But we're in good hands regardless. While people have issues with the owners, and I have issues with the owners in terms of their willingness or unwillingness to spend, they are good owners. Like, the club is in an incredibly good position right now, on and off the pitch. Like, yeah, we finished third, and that's a little bit disappointing. And, we would have liked to have challenged for the title right up until the final day. But we finished third and we won a cup. Like, give me our season over Arsenal's season. Unless you finished first, you haven't won anything in the league. So it doesn't matter if you finish second, third, or fourth. It really doesn't. You can't, nobody's telling their grandkids in 50 years about the year someone finished second. But we'll remember that cup final for a long, long time. Because there was something special about it. We played more games than them. We lost less games. We won more games. We scored an awful lot more goals. Got to the same point in Europe. And I know we had Europa League, they had Champions League, but at the same time, they had a Europa League group. Their group was dreadful. They scraped past a bad Porto team and then went out to the worst Bayern team in 15 years. Like, they didn't have a good European campaign. They went out in the third round of the FA Cup to us. We had a better FA Cup run, obviously a much better League Cup run, winning the competition. Yeah, they had a better Premier League season, but not massively. Not massively at all. Like, ultimately, they finished 7 points ahead of us. But they had minimal injuries all year. And they had every possible big refereeing decision go in their favour, including one yesterday, where their winner should have been ruled out for handball. Whereas we had the big decisions go against us. The McAllister boot into the chest by Doku, that should have been 2 more points for us because that would have been a penalty. You'd have backed Alexis to step up and score, having done so earlier in the game. That would put us to 84 points and drop City to 90. There's the Nicholas Jackson handball on the opening day of the season, which should have been a penalty. That would have put us to 86 points. There's the Martin Odegaard handball, which would have put us to 88 points and dropped Arsenal to 88 points. And then there's the Luis Diaz goal at Spurs, which, could have been a point, could have been 3 points. Curtis Jones also sent off wrongly in that game. Alexis sent off wrongly against Bournemouth. Now, he won that game, so it didn't matter ultimately. But those are all decisions that went against us. And if they go for us, we end up on 89 points. Now, we, in that scenario, still lose the title to City, but we finish above Arsenal, based purely on big refereeing mistakes. That's it. Nothing else changes. Just the referees get the decisions right. 4 decisions. 4 decisions. The Jackson handball, the Odegaard handball, the Doku boot in the chest, and the Diaz goal. That's the difference between us and Arsenal this year. So people can talk them up and act like they're some great gang of lads. But ultimately, if those 4 decisions go in our favour, as they should have, we end up ahead of them. That's before you look at some of the recent results, like Crystal Palace at home, like Everton away, like West Ham, where because we'd already dropped behind them, it felt like the wind had gone out of our sails. It would have only taken beating West Ham away to jump City in that scenario where those decisions actually go correctly and we get those points, and we would have won a title. So the idea that we're a million miles away is simply false. But I note this from Mo Chatri yesterday. This just gives you an idea of how much the club has grown in the past 9 years. So when the year before Jurgen took over, which was 14-15, the club was valued at 650 million. Now it's valued at 4.3 billion. Our turnover was 298 million. It's estimated for this season to be 575 million. Our commercial revenue was 116 million. Now it's 285, likely to pass 300 million next season. Our match day revenue was 59 million. Now it's 90 million. And our wage bill has gone from 166 million to 330 million. The capacity of Anfield has gone from 45,500 to 61,000 once the Annie Road end is finished. It's remarkable growth. Absolutely remarkable growth. And obviously, Jurgen is a huge part of that. But so are the ownership. So are the ownership. The owners are the ones that have overseen this. And that's why I think we're in good hands. As a club, we've never been better off across the board. Obviously, there's big change coming. And that's, there's a lot of trepidation for that, and that's completely understandable. But Jurgen himself said it. Change is a good thing. And it had gotten a little bit stale. Like, if we're all being really honest here, it had gotten a little bit stale. And the football had not been good for a long time. Bar those games Thiago played in 21-22, since we won the title, by and large, the football has not been particularly good. We've been getting by on individual brilliance and Klopp. And, when you hear people yesterday talk about heavy metal football, we haven't played that in years. Years. So, a fresh start under Arne Slot, where he's not having to reinvent the wheel. He's maybe just having to change the tyre because the threads had worn on the one before. Jurgen has put unbelievable foundations in place. Unbelievable foundations in place. This is not having to replace Ferguson. This is not having to replace Wenger. First and foremost, those two left enormous power vacuums behind them. We won't have that. Secondly, those two had been at those clubs for just so long, 27 and 22 years. They were institutions at those clubs. I always said Jurgen would know when the right time was to leave, and he'd know it before any of us. And he did. Those two, Ferguson and Wenger, also left behind squads that were literally running on empty. Like literally running on empty. You look at that Manchester United squad I know they won the league, right? I know they won the league, but they won the league because of Ferguson. They won the league because of him. But look at that squad, right? De Gea, at the time, very unreliable. Raphael, garbage. Patrice Evra, past his best. Phil Jones, not very good. Rio Ferdinand, past his best. Johnny Evans, not up to the mark. Valencia, not very good. Anderson, not very good. Berbatov, I think, had seen his way out at that point. Rooney was finished at that point as well. Giggs was finished. Smalling wasn't up to the level. Vidic was past his best. Carrick was well past his best. Nani wasn't good enough. Ashley Young wasn't good enough. Danny Welbeck wasn't good enough. Van Persie had an unbelievable season. But Van Persie was also 30 at the point. So he'd had a lot of injuries in his career. So he wasn't reliable, as great as he was. Scholes was past his best. Cleverly, Fletcher, Kagawa. These players just weren't good enough for United at that point. Kagawa just didn't fit the Premier League. Like, that squad needed massive overhauling. If you were walking in there, you'd be looking at De Gea and Van Persie and thinking, I need 9 new players here. Over the next 2 years, I'm going to need 9 new starters here. That's just how it was. Like, Rooney was, at that point, declining rapidly. He was only 28. He was declining rapidly. I know he had a good goal-scoring season in 13-14. He got 17 in the league. He was not good. He was not good by a long shot. You look at Wenger and what he left behind. And again, it's a similar tale where it's a lot of players who simply weren't good enough to play for Arsenal if they wanted to win things. Matteo Debuchy, anyone remember him? No, didn't think so. Per Mertesacker, well past his best. Laurent Koscielny, one of the most overrated players the league has ever seen. Absolute dross. Mkhitaryan didn't suit English football. Aaron Ramsey was a good player. Overrated. Better international player than club player. But he was getting ready to leave. He had a couple of years left in his contract or a year left in his contract, I should say, and was getting ready to leave. Lacazette's a good player. Jack Wilshere was broken, couldn't stay fit. Ozil's a great player. Giroud, I mean, I never quite really understood what went on with him at Arsenal and why he was just given to Chelsea. Ospina, not good enough. Aubameyang's a good player. Walcott, not good enough. Ox was there, but he'd been injured a lot. Oh no, Ox had joined us at that point, so he was gone. Rob Holding, not good enough. Iwobi, not good enough. Nacho Monreal, not good enough. Mustafi, not good enough. Callum Chambers, Danny Welbeck was there as well. And still not good enough. Hector Bellerin, not good enough. Granit Xhaka, he was never quite good enough in the Premier League, other than last season. He was always a big disappointment. Mavropanos was a couple of years from being ready to be anything. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, good squad player, but that was about it. You had Petr Cech, you had Ozil, Lacazette, and Aubameyang, and that was it. So you're looking at it needing seven new starters, including an entire defence. We don't have that situation. We don't need nearly as big a rebuild. Like, they needed 7 starters and a bunch of squad players. United needed 9 starters and a bunch of squad players. We need 3 starters and maybe 2 squad players. Will it be enough to win the league? We won't know until we go and try and win it. But it'll get us close. It'll get us real close. Unlike them, United were literally running on fumes. And Arsenal had already started to decline. They finished 6th that last year. I think they won the FA Cup, though. They didn't. They won the Community Shield. They won the FA Cup the year before. They lost the EFL Cup final in Wenger's last year. They finished 5th under Emery. And then it was 8th and 8th and then 5th. And then they bottled the title last year. And then this year, obviously, they came up short again. And they're now 20 years since a league title. And United are now 11 years since a league title. I don't think we're looking at that in our future. I really don't. Like, I look at our team, Trent, assuming he stays. Let's start with Ali. He's the best keeper in the world, still. Assuming Trent stays, he's the best right back in the world. He just is. Ibu is incredible. Injuries are an issue, but he's incredible. So one of the squad players will be a backup for him. The other squad player will be a backup for Ali, assuming Kelleher goes. Virgil's still the best defender on the planet. We need a left back. Now, it's not that Robertson isn't a good player. He's just not the player he was. He has declined. He's been poor for 2 years. We need a left back. They're starter number 1. McAllister's outstanding. We need a holding midfielder next to him, a ball winner. They're starter number 2. A lot depends on whether Salah stays or goes. But if he stays, there's your right winger and he's still the best in the league. We saw Szoboszlai play left wing yesterday, and I thought he looked really comfortable and really at home there. That's where I think he should play next season. And I think we should buy a 10. And I think that 10 is Michael Elise. I think he unlocks everything else. And up front, you've got Darwin, you've got Jota, you've got Gakpo. You give them a year, you see what happens. But they're all good enough to different levels. I don't know if Gakpo's good enough to be the starter, but he's a good enough squad player. And he can play 10 and he can play left wing. Jota's good enough. Darwin is good enough. Darwin just needs to be consistent enough. But if we had that makeup of a team, that's a team that can go close to the title. And I think the football itself going forward will improve. And I think the defensive structure will improve. Because I think they are what he'll focus on. We don't create enough playing through the middle. We heavily rely on getting it wide. We don't really unlock defences through the middle all that often unless it's a Trent ball from 30 yards. But what Slot's football will do is it will open up the middle of the pitch more for us in the same way De Zerbi's football does that. Because their on-ball football is very, very similar. I think off-ball, it's just a matter of bringing in that holding midfielder and being more structurally solid. Now, that might be that the left back is a more defensive player. William Pacho's been mentioned. Maybe it's him. And if it's him, then Ibu, Virgil and him as a defensive back 3 with your holding midfielder sat in front and then Alexis in front of that. That will be a lot better than what we've had this year, where we largely defended with 2 and then Endo or Alexis and then nobody else. I think he's going to have to put more discipline back into Trent's game, but I think Trent will be up for the challenge, again, assuming he stays. But I think we're in much better shape than people give us credit for. I think it's quite disrespectful to Klopp to claim that we're about to fall apart. I really do. That's like saying he hasn't left behind a good team. Do you really want to go there with that? Because that would be weird. There's a whole bunch of stuff on This is Anfield today regarding yesterday, mostly regarding the post-match. So that's all good and well worth watching. You can also watch the entire thing if you missed it. It's up on YouTube. Liverpool.com has a lead piece on the after party last night, including Harvey Elliott looking utterly ridiculous. They've got a piece up about Darwin failing to clap because anything for the clicks. Let's see. Slot's dream summer. Salah contract signed as Liverpool seals 3 transfers for incoming Dutch boss. We'll have a look at that. Why Arne Slot is already getting compared to Bob Paisley? Well, it's because he's taking over from a guy that reminds everybody of Bill Shankly. Gary Lineker lets slip a little rumor about Jurgen Klopp's next job. Oh, yeah. About him ending up being president of Borussia Dortmund. I don't think it's president. I think it's head of football that there's talk of. I could definitely see him doing that. I could definitely see him having some sort of role at Dortmund. I do think he'll manage the German national team at some point, though. I think that's likely. Yeah, that piece doesn't suggest any names for signing, so we'll just skip on from there and we'll have a look at Anfield Watch. I do note the Redmen put their Klopp interview out for free on their YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, go and give it a watch now. You know, it's up for nothing, so you might as well. Lead piece, why did Darwin Núñez snub Jurgen Klopp? Yada, yada. Liverpool's impending goalkeeper problems could be solved by Austrian Bundesliga winner. Yeah, so Vítězslav Jaros, who's had a brilliant second half of the season with Sturm Graz. He was brought in because Kjell Scherpen, who's on loan from Brighton, tore his ACL like early in the season and then played with it for like 4 months or something. Very similar, I think, to what happened with Sven Botman. So they reached out to us. We sent them Jaros, and he's been absolutely tremendous. And that follows a really good loan with St. Pat's Athletic in Ireland when he won the FAI Cup and was the club's player of the year. He's also been on loan at Notts County and Stockport County. And now he's gone on to win a league title. Absolutely fantastic. Red Bull Salzburg, where Pep and Linders is obviously going, they had won the league for 10 years in a row. And Sturm Graz have overcome the odds to beat them to the title by 2 points. Huge. Absolutely huge. That makes it a League and Cup double for them because they beat Rapid Vienna in the Austrian Cup. And again, Jaros played in that one. And so completes a double for him, which, I mean, what a loan spell for him. So maybe he's the guy that steps in for Kelleher. And maybe the goalkeeper we bring in is someone like an Alex McCarthy as a third choice to replace Adrian and give that kind of more experienced voice in the dressing room. Also, another homegrown player, so he would count towards the quota, which helps if Kelleher's leaving. So, and obviously Jaros, I think is still a year. Is he still a year young? Let me see. Is Jaros still a year young for the quota? No, he's 22. Yaros, I believe, then will count as a homegrown player next year. He will. He's been with us since he's 16. So he will count as a homegrown player as well, which is massive. So that would help too. He'll turn 23 this summer. So it's probably the right time to give him his opportunity. Let him step up and see how he gets on. Give him the cups. Why not? Why not give him his opportunity? If he's done this well on a couple of loans at a decent level. He's a big guy. He's a good keeper. So give him his chance. Gary O'Neill slams terrible VAR after Nelson's made a red card. Gary O'Neill's a cry arse. Simple as that. Let's see. There's a piece about Willie and Pacho. Could be perfect Joel Matip replacement. Well, he couldn't really, because Pacho plays left side centre back. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is a piece about Odilon Pisono, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen, and caught offside say that we're prepared to pay some 60 million euro for him. I would be very, very surprised if we were willing to pay anything close to that figure. He's very good, but he's not a regular starter for Leverkusen, not by any stretch. Like, he's a good squad player for them. I think he should be starting, but they just went unbeaten. So, I think they did okay. But he's not a regular starter. He's the fourth centre back for a back three. He started the season in the team and then dropped out of it for most of the middle. Now, he's come back in recently, but I just don't see it. I don't see us spending that type of money on him. But he is very good. And he's big and he's strong and he's quick. He's decent on the ball. I still think Pacho's more likely if we're signing someone from the Bundesliga. Though we could use two. We could use backup for Ibu, but not at that price. No chance at that price. What else? Liverpool accused of wasting money on departing star. There's a picture of Thiago, so I'm not reading that because it's going to be nonsense. Blah, blah, blah. Real Madrid have found their Luka Modric replacement. There's reports that they're interested in Alexis. I wouldn't buy into them. Liverpool now set to keep player despite original plans to move him on. That is Sepp Vandenberg. Liverpool are now set to keep one player for the summer despite original plans to move him on. Sport Bild reports it's increasingly unlikely Sepp Vandenberg will remain at Liverpool this summer. The report suggests there's an option to buy him outright. So maybe they don't have the money. It's meant to be like 7 or 8 million is the price. Maybe they just don't have it. He'd make sense to come back in, and then you have Ibu, Virgil, him, Kwanzaa, and maybe one more. Maybe you look for someone more experienced. Someone in that kind of 26 to 28 age range. Tosin Adarabioyo on a free would have made a lot of sense, but doesn't look like we're going to do that. Anyway, moving on, AnfieldIndex.com. There's a video of Jurgen dancing as John Barnes raps at the farewell, which is interesting. There's just a lot of stuff from yesterday. What Andy Robertson said, some numbers behind Klopp's tenure, what Jurgen said in his speech, and then podcast wise, there is the latest Scouted, which was meant to be about Wolves, but we didn't really talk about Wolves. There's a rival recon. There's the Avidazane Klopp Part 5, which is Trev, Dave Davis, and Harinder. I think that's the last one. I think Part 5 was the last one of them. So go and listen to all 5 of them. There is post-match Raw. myself, Trev, and Jim Boardman, and we didn't really speak about the game at all. Not even a little bit. We just talked about Jurgen and what he said and what went on after the game. And today, the latest media matters has come out. It is Dave Davis and David Lynch to talk about the entirety of yesterday. So give all of those a listen, and I will see you all on Wednesday. No podcast tomorrow. Guy or Dave might drop something in the meantime, but I will not be here tomorrow. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.